Previously on Aoi Shiro.
ももちゃんなら、
Poor Momoko.
その中にいる可能性ないことはないでしょうけど、聖女の学生ですからね。和歌は知らないでしょうけど、聖女はそこそこ裕福な、つまりは社会的地位もそこそこの人たちが娘を通わせる、いわゆるお嬢様学校で。
We've been spotted. So I lost the last 2 rounds, which was as usual for me, but somehow I just didn't want to lose to Migiwa.
さて、島で何が起こったか。
The closed eye slowly opened. We've been acknowledged.
ちと尋ねる。将軍職はまだ徳川か？
いえ、とっくに終わっていますけど。
関ヶ原から何年経った？猿太閤が死んだ後、狸が天下を取ったじゃろ。知らぬか？
知ってます。400年は軽く経っていますけど。
400？関ヶ原から400年。
That challenging voice that asked who it was sounded familiar.
私、幼い証拠。
なんだ、おさか。驚いて損した。椿のせいね。どんなのだった？
椿の花みたいな赤い衣を着ていたわ。狩絹とか水管とか、そんな時代がかった感じの服。
へえへえ、確かに変な人ね。今時そんな格好でこんな時間にそんな場所で。だけどそれだけで椿のせいとか言っちゃうんだ。オサって意外とメルヘンさんなんだ。
You got a problem with fairy tales?
というか、大物が取れたんですけど。大物？
マネージャーさんが寝つけずに砂浜に散歩に出たそうなんじゃよ。そこでこの子を見つけたそうな。
Everyone turned to gaze at the girl. My gaze also followed theirs. My heart thumped hard. Once. There was one futon laid out there. Hello, Nami.
言って問題ないことなら言える時に言っとかないとストレス溜まってそのうちハゲるよ。
どうしてわしの方を見なさるのかの？
Well, you got a shiny scalp, don't you? And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken and welcome back to my Let's Play of Aoi Shiro. So, our game plan is the same as last time's. I'm going to try to poke and prod Migiwa for more information about her objectives, see if we can form some kind of trusting bond between one another, and ultimately help each other to achieve our goals. But I guess first and foremost, I got to have a new version of this conversation with our classmates, and whatever that'll entail. So let's just go ahead and see what's new. So you wanted to talk about what happened. I guess that's in relation to Yasumi's big catch last night.
髪の長い女の子の幽霊。
Okay, no, I was totally off the mark with that one.
幽霊ですか。幽霊。オサ先輩はそういうの信じない派ですか？今まであんまり縁がなかったから。
If I didn't believe in them at all, I wouldn't be scared, so I didn't think I was in that category. But still, it was a ghost girl with long hair. Whether I believed it or not, it's not like I was entirely without a clue as to who it might be.
怪しいといえば。
The suspicious person is... Well, the silhouette obviously is one of Yasumi, but I think the logical choice I gotta make here is assuming that it could be Kohaku. So I think I'm gonna choose that, the one in the South Forest. Because all things considered, Nami hasn't done anything to warrant any kind of suspicion at this point, so I'm sorry, Kohaku, but you are our prime suspect for now. The person I met in the South Forest last night. The person who suddenly disappeared, leaving behind only a flash of yellow light. That person's white hair, tied up high, if let down, would also be rather long, right?
翔子先輩？え？どうしたんですか？まさか犯人の目星がついたとか？そんなわけじゃ。
Why did I act surprised, as if they were accusing me of being the culprit? I suddenly blushed, and I put the palm of my hand to my face to cool it down and hide.
またまた。名探偵は決定的な証拠を握るまでうかつに推理は披露しないですからね。
Well, I guess I'm not a great detective then, going by that standard, because I have no problem showing a few deductions here and there without definitive evidence.
だから目星なんかついてないって。やれやれ、一筋縄ではいかない事件ですね。
Momoko shrugged her shoulders. Turning around so that her back was facing me, she started to walk towards the hall.
ではとりあえず専門家の意見を伺ってみるのがいいと思います。専門家です。
Did such a person exist? In the past, people believed in kami and kotodama. Now, though, there are people like Aoi Sensei who were familiar about this. Standing in front of the sliding door, Momoko cocked her head at us, and once again shrugged her shoulders.
成仏できない幽霊に引導を渡すのがお仕事の人がいるじゃないですか。
We were at Shoshinji. This was an ancient temple of Unasaka where monk Yukai lived and performed Buddhist rites all by himself. We went looking for the monk to ask him about the matter. In the living room, we heard the sound of a woman speaking. I thought Aoi Sensei was with the monk, but when I peeked in, I saw a news program playing on an old TV with legs.
お天気コーナーの時間です。
Though Aoi Sensei wasn't there, the monk was nodding his head as he watched the program. It was probably his daily routine.
おはようございます。
ああ、おはようございます。
And good morning to you, big bald man.
船坂は本日は晴れでしょう。
Fancying the news lady, are we? Hearing the name of a familiar place, everyone's eyes focused on the TV.
今のところそれらしい兆候は見られませんが、近日中に大雨・大風が起こる恐れがあります。雨漏りなどに備え、住居の修繕や非常用品の準備は数日中のうちに済ませておくと良いでしょう。
I never even thought about that. Repairing leaking roofs. You should all do that. It'll give you something to do. Perhaps Momoko was wondering about the same thing as me. She raised her voice and tugged on the sleeves of Yasumi, who was next to her.
ざわっちざわっち、なんかテレビの人が変。え？
What's strange about reporting on the weather?
少し変でしたよね。何か変だった？当然。なんで兆候なしにもかかわらず台風の備えみたいなことしなきゃいけないわけよ。
Oh, that's what's strange. Yasumi's mouth opened in an absent-minded fashion. She looked down to hide her expression. It's okay, Yasumi, I was just as clueless as you were. I didn't think it was something to be embarrassed or depressed over. Since Yasumi was bad at getting up in the morning, her brain might not be working yet.
みんな、おはよう。
Good.
おはようございます。
And good morning, teacher.
鈴木さんもおはようございます。
花子さんもよく眠れたようで何よりですな。
先生、なんだか天気が怪しいらしいですよ。
あら、出発前の予報だとずっといいお天気が続くって言ってたのに。
I don't know about you, but I smell a weather forecasting conspiracy. Okay, not really, but it is a little odd, I will admit. This inconsistency in the weather report. If there weren't any indications of bad weather, I think that'd be a normal prediction.
困りましたね。ひどい雨にならないといいんですけど。
Aoi Sensei looked out the window, where the shining sun showed no indication of bad weather. She squinted and muttered.
誰か裏の山に登ったりしたのかしら。
My left hand trembled as if she were directing that statement to me. Last night, at that place,
葵先生、それは何ですか？
ああ、別に気にするほどのことじゃないわよ。単なるジンクスみたいなものだから。
Aoi Sensei said it was a custom from northern places like Amori and Akita, so it's not readily applicable to Neosekken in the south.
椿の群れなす山にはね、椿権現とか椿明神とか呼ばれている姫神様が祀られていて、その山に登ることは禁忌とされていたりしたのよ。
So this whole time, our little test of courage was actually a taboo act? Momoko, I'm ashamed of you.
金を破って山に登ると？
たちまち風が吹きすさび、ざんざん降りの大雨に海が荒れると言われています。
Although now that I think about it, we never actually climbed a mountain, did we?
やれやれ、ヒステリックな神様ですね。
I'm sorry, Momoko. I chastise you for nothing. That comment, which implied a disbelief in the god, caused Aoi Sensei to give a slightly strange smile.
ある土地ではどんな時でも入山不可の完全な禁足地だったり、またある土地では秋の収穫の後にはみんなで登って詣でてからマグサになるクズハを買ったり、さらにまた別の土地ではよそ者や旅人が登ると暴風雨になるので絶対に登らせてはいけないと伝わっていたとか。椿の木は暴風林として植えられたりするから荒らすと被害が大きくなるぞって、そのあたりとも結びつくのかしら。でもこちらの山に咲いてるのは椿は椿でも夏椿ですから関係なかったわね。
床先の椿は
え？
床先の椿は夏椿ではなく春に咲くはずの椿ですよね。
There was only one of it. There was faith in the mountain of Tsubaki, and I had stepped foot on such a place.
床先の椿は九郎様の妻とも言われる安姫様が植えたという言われを持つ九郎様とも縁深い木だし。
Now that's actually funny. Me picturing Kohaku married to a tree.
安姫様？
On the receiving end of Momoko's gaze, Yasumi looked flustered, which caused Aoi Sensei to give a bemused smile.
秋田さん、相沢さんのことじゃないのよ。安姫様は浦島の昔話に出てくる旅の偉いビクニ様、つまるところの尼さんでね、島に流行っていた病を癒したり、その原因だった鬼の王の怨霊を釈伏したり、鬼退治の大将軍に勝るとも劣らない活躍をしたのよ。他にも椿を植えて回ったり、若く見えるのに80歳を超えていたり、それは残の肉を食べたせいだったり、全国的に有名な八尾ビクニの伝説と重なる部分も多いわね。あ、八尾ビクニならぬ八十ビクニ。
Anyways, it is said that Yasuhime-sama was searching for Koro-sama and crossed from Unosaka to Hiroshima. Hence, Yasuhime-sama was seen as the messenger of Koro-sama. They were also viewed as a couple and treated like gods.
まあそんな話とは関係なく、天気予報で言っておったように、九郎様の祭りが近づくと海が荒れるというわけじゃ。少なくとも祭り当日は必ず荒れるのう。わしが知っておる限り、その確率は10割。つまりは100発100中じゃ。
With his hand, the monk made a gesture like firing a gun. Why did Momoko groan and hold her chest as if she'd been hit? Blowing the imaginary smoke from the tip of his finger, the monk continued.
ここまで外さずに必ず来ると、もはや地元の常識じゃな。島の者が揃って信心深いのには、こういった事実の積み重ねあってのことじゃろう。
私みたいなよその人だと雨風を呼ぶ竜神って一般的なイメージがあるから、九郎様が嵐を連れてきてるんじゃないかって思うんだけど。
九郎様をお祭りすることで鬼の王のたたりを封じ込めていただくというのがこちらでは一般的な説じゃな。
If only you knew.
にしても天候不順は100発100中ですか。
Aoi Sensei folded her arms as if wondering if that could really happen. Logically thinking, you can't dismiss that such an omen was added to give the story more prestige. Well, normally, you'd believe a weather report more than something like an omen, so you can't say Aoi Sensei was at fault.
鈴木さん、今年のお祭りっていつなんですか？
今日、明日、明後日。
The monk folded his fingers as he counted. The last one he folded was his thumb, so from his ring finger, that made 4. How does one folder your fingers?
しあさってじゃな。いつから荒れるかは決まっておらんが、しあさってには100発100中じゃ。
それってどれぐらいの規模なんです？浦島だけが荒れるとか。
年によって規模はまちまちなんじゃが。
The difference in years when it was not so bad was large, so for people outside the area, the guaranteed storm was just superstition. Well, it's fine to be treated as superstition if it's recognized that a terrible storm attacks every year.
タイミング悪かったですよね。
No shit.
先生の下調べが甘かったわ。そういう民間伝承こそ集めなくちゃいけなかったのに。
It's okay, Teach. We can't all be perfect. Especially not me. Well, if you were studying academics, that might be so. But it's not required for an advisor to his sports team. Sensei let out a big sigh. She pushed up her glasses and looked upwards. Perhaps her mood changed a bit since her expression was firm and looked like that of an instructor.
こんなに遠くまで来てからでなんだけど、安全には変えられないと思うのよ。
つまり合宿を切り上げるべきだと。
少なくとも天気が崩れる前に立っておきたいとは思うのよ。
There was also a situation here to consider, and the monk acknowledged that truth and nodded.
荒れてからでは逆に足止めされる恐れもありますからな。
Well, I'm assuming that if I select have to cancel this trip, I'll just get another variation of that one ending where everybody just goes home. That there won't be anything else to do beyond that. So, you know what? I'll go ahead and select that option first. Get that one ending out of the way, and then select with justice info after that.
仕方ないですよね。
Our gazes silently met, and the consensus was it can't be helped. This wasn't the whole team, and later. We'd go ask everyone's opinion, but probably they would all say it can't be helped. Since long before, when encountering a situation that humans can't deal with, it's been dropped with it can't be helped.
そうね。これ以上変なことっていうか、大変なことに怒られても困るし。
それって幽霊のことですか？
幽霊？
はい。それで、和尚に意見を伺いに。
We explained the situation.
桜井さんと相沢さん、体調悪いの？
And it's all Yasumi's fault.
私の方は見てないですし、いつもの体調不良だと思うんですけど。
幽霊ね。桜井さんは幽霊とか見る方だったの？
いえ、初めて見たと思います。
だったらちょうどよかったかしら。
何がですか？
お寺に着いた自爆霊なら帰っちゃえば関係ないものね。
Well, there was some truth to that, and it was one type of countermeasure. But to end it like that was a little irresponsible.
もし、綾代か休みに何か取り付いてたら。
Attach is certainly one word I would use.
その時はその時。
That was really a little irresponsible. Well, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, if a metaphorical ghost were to attach itself to you and follow you home, I mean, well, you'll have no choice but to deal with it then, because right now we're just running with the assumption it's tied here, so.
でも帰ってからの方が何とかしようがあるのよ。
I mean,
鈴木さんはお祓いとかできないし。
you gotta start out small, you know? Like, try to move to a different location first. If that doesn't work, then bring out the big guns.
天台や真言の密教僧ではありませんからな。
You don't know how to perform an exorcism? Well, that sucks.
大丈夫。最初の可愛い教え子たちを幽霊の餌食なんかにはさせないから。ここだけの話、先生の人脈って大したものなんですよ。
Do you now?
なんと大学時代にお世話になったゼミの教授の友達は私の友達でもあるんですけど、すごい霊能者の知り合いなんだとか。
As long as their last name isn't Sonozaki, I'll be good. An acquaintance of a friend has spiritual powers. It sounded suspicious.
その子、まだ小学生ぐらいの年齢なんだけど、海外の大学をスキップで卒業できちゃうような超天才で。
The more I heard, the more suspicious it sounded. Well, I guess it was okay to leave it at that. Outside the window, the blue sky stretched out. It seemed the storm was still a long ways off. In the end, we decided to end the train camp early and head home. Bump, clang. We ran over the rails, and even the sound of the railroad ties became quiet. We had quickly changed from a bus to a train, and we were now far away from Unosaka. No matter how violent the rain or wind, we were far enough away that we were safe.
あの子、どうなるのかしらね。
That girl that Yasumi found on the first night, who had floated up from the ocean. The girl whose name we didn't even know, and who had continued to sleep.
万事お任せくだされって誘拐和尚が言ってたから心配ないとは思うんだけれど。
You know, now that you mention it, this is technically the earliest we've left. Isn't it? Compared to the other variations of this ending. Like on all the other ones, Nami was awake, at the very least, wasn't she? Though it was a rundown temple, he was the chief priest, so was a notable person in the local area. Anyways, even if we were there, we wouldn't have been able to do much.
休みも気になるでしょ。
I bet Yasumi is probably concerned about it. No. Sitting in the seat next to me, Yasumi had her head on my shoulder and was quietly sleeping.
休みにも眠り病が移ったのかしら。
眠り姫を起こすには王子様と儀式が必要ですよ。コサ先輩、申し訳ないですけど、そのまま起こさずお願いできますでしょうか。
Momoko requested that of me. It was rare for her not to sit next to Yasumi.
いいわよ、これぐらい。
Just like how nothing much happened as the scenery flew past. Time didn't stop and kept moving on. Pretty much happened as quickly as I was hoping it would, so that's good. Given the lack of indication from the weather itself that there is a tsunami heading our way, I don't really think logically we have quite enough information yet to really know for sure whether or not we should leave, so with just this info.
しあさっては確実というのでしたら。
I fold the thumb and pointer finger in my right hand.
それなら最終日はあさってに繰り上げて、今日と明日は予定通り。天候次第ではさらなる繰り上げも考えるというのが落としどころではないかと。
I combined my middle finger and ring finger with the fingers on my left hand, bending both of them, and said,
雨雲一つ見当たらないのに天候が崩れて危ないから帰れって言われても納得いくものじゃないですし。
Yes. It's not that I was against going home early. I just disliked that there wasn't an acceptable reason for doing so. It's not that I doubted the monk. It's just I felt like we'd been tricked if we went home with no indication of bad weather. I just couldn't cancel a training camp early because of something that was as unpredictable as the weather. First, even if the room fee was dirt cheap, we'd spend a lot of time and money on transportation to come all the way to Neosekken.
まあそれはそうよね。自分で経験しないことには少しも実感湧かないでしょうし。
つまり遊ぶなら今日明日中ってことですね。
Of course, this wasn't the consensus of everyone, so we'd asked all of them afterwards. But we decided what to do for now.
ところで姫先輩の見た幽霊なんですけど。
幽霊？
はい。それで和尚に意見を伺いに。
We explained the situation.
その安姫様のたたりだとか。
心当たりが他にない以上、その線もあり得るのでは？
和尚様、その安姫様という方は髪の長い女の子だったりしますか？
尼さんですからツルツルかもしれませんが。
Momoko looked at the monk rubbing his slick, bald head. He looked at Aoi Shiro with long black hair who'd asked the question.
伝わっておる話によると、年の頃は14、15歳。つやつやとした黒髪を長く伸ばした、それは美しい少女であったとされておる。
髪の長い
女の子ですね。
安姫様のたたりですか？
I thought if there were really a curse, it should have hit me, who went to the Sao Forest and met the Tsubaki spirit.
それがなんで姫先輩に？
Really? Why was it her? Well, using simple thinking, we could say they resembled each other, but coming up with an answer here didn't mean anything.
桃子が姫とか呼んでるから顔でも見ておこうと思ったとか。
桃子ちゃんのせいでしたか。
濡れ衣です。
Though it really was nothing more than an unjust accusation, Momoko didn't flinch or get discouraged.
では今晩あたりにでも確かめてみましょう。
どうやって？
幽霊って怖い話すると集まるって言うじゃないですか。
言うかしら。
聞いたことはありますけど。
In other words, we should do something that will cause ghosts to gather and then confirm whether or not it's true.
要するに怖い話をみんなでしようと？
肝試しとかって合宿にはつきものじゃないですか。
そうだっけ？
去年も学校でやりましたけどね。
At last year's camp, we had to go and come back to a room in the old school building. Because of the senpai's traps, it was pretty harsh, but...
ところで桃子、肝試しをするのはいいんだけど、綾代が見たって幽霊が実際出たらどうするの？
That was blood spatter I just looked at, wasn't it? What kind of traps did she put? It's important to confirm the truth, but if we stir up a snake's nest and get bitten by poisonous fangs, there's no point.
用心として和尚さんから九段の木刀を貸していただきます。
雲打ちか。
If it really were a true miraculous sword, then you might be reassured when facing a ghost. I thought the same thing last night.
それはいいんだけどさ。
はい。
もし幽霊が安姫様だったら、木刀の霊剣って通じないんじゃない？
Good point.
あ、
It seems she forgot about that. Momoko made a gesture indicating she was leaving that point aside. Clenching her fist, she made a fervent announcement.
大丈夫です。安姫様は味方です。
まあ、いいけどね。
Though if Yasuhime-sama were an ally, then there was no reason at all to verify the curse. Yasumi and Aoi Shiro, who weren't feeling well, were put in charge of making breakfast while the rest did morning exercises. And I guess we're just going through this again. Okay, here we are. We got something. But still, Migiwa hadn't returned yet. Though she was the one that said she was hungry and came out to fetch me, she herself ran off somewhere saying she had an errand. She left a message for me with the others saying she'd already eaten breakfast and ran off somewhere. Jeez.
ところで鈴木さん、
何ですかな、花子さん。
浦島の九郎様の祭りの日には必ず嵐が当たるんですよね。
申したように100発100中じゃ。
でしたらそんな嵐の中で一体何をするんです？大雨に降られたら綿飴も花火も金魚すくいのポイもいろいろまとめて台無しですよね。
That reasonable question caused the monk to make a sound and close his eyes.
先生も知らないんですか？
普通に手に入るような資料には何も書かれてないのよ。
She waved her arms up and down and wriggled from side to side, letting us know that she couldn't stand waiting for the answer. She was acting more like a student than a teacher. No, that was the attitude of a child, not an adult. There are also woman children.
数日前に船が止まるので、よその方が島に入り込むことは難しいですしな。
So it was a self-contained festival where it was shut off from the outside world, and no media were permitted. Even the people living on Unasaka only knew that there was a festival and didn't know what it entailed.
それで鈴木さん、何か聞いてません？
さて、何をしておるのかの。島でも特別な役目についておる者以外は、うちにこもって出てはならぬと。
So even the people of the island didn't know any details.
そういうしきたりらしいんじゃよ。
Looking at Aoi Sensei, who had her shoulders down in disappointment, the monk opened his mouth.
長い歴史があるだけに、しきたりを破ったものについての話もちらほらと耳にせんでもないが。
Seeing Sensei's excited face, the monk looked a little at a loss and cocked his eyebrows since she might be expecting too much.
そんなに期待されても大したことは話せませんぞ。伝え聞いておる限り、その大方が行方不明。
まあ。
何せ嵐が直撃ですからな。そんな時に外に出たら普通は大変なことになりますな。
Setting aside whether the festival is just a formality, it was originally formed because of those living circumstances.
例外中の例外なんじゃが、働き盛りの若者が総白髪のやつれ果てた姿で戻ってきたそうな。その者も数日後にふらりと姿を消し、そのまま帰ってこなかったそうなんじゃがの。
うわー、なんだか知りませんが怖い。
Poor Momoko. It was a classical tale to have one's hair turned white overnight due to fear, though. Or else it might be that he was invited to the palace of the Dragon King and opened up Pandora's box, which he shouldn't have.
本当に悲惨なんですね。知りたいわ。知りたいです。私学術的好奇心を刺激されまくりです。
This time, the monk's pause was different and heavier. After several seconds of thinking, the monk said,
まあ、大方はわからぬでもないのじゃが。江戸時代の寺受け制度のおかげじゃな。
It seems he was going to talk about the secret affairs of Urashima, which were not publicly known.
当時は浦島を含むこの辺りの住民は、すべて正信寺の檀家であったのじゃが。
今では見る影ないですね。
She doesn't any sign of them here, though? Momoko put an extra word. At that, the monk nodded in acknowledgement and continued talking about this temple in those days.
一方、その辺りから明治の神仏分離令までの間、九郎様は同じ海難よけの神様であり、龍神でもある金毘羅大権現とされておった。あちらにとっての幸いは、こちらの本尊が毘沙門天だったことにつきますな。いやはや、縁とは全く計り知れぬものですわい。毘沙門天は薬師十二神将のクビラ大将と同一とされており、そもそもクビラ大将と金毘羅様はどちらもインドでいうクンビーラですから。つまり金毘羅様である九郎様を島の者が信心するのは、毘沙門天を拝んでおるうちの檀家的には問題ないということですな。
おわ、なんという奇弁。
せめて方便と申しなされ。
It's hard to explain the theory that Shinto gods are Buddhas. You just accept that Shinto god as an incarnation of that Buddha. Anyways, nowadays Bishamoten and Kurosama are treated the same, so the faith towards the latter was tactically approved.
とはいえさすがに因子邪教の類を認めることはできんのでな。
The Edo shogunate would have been keeping a close watch and wouldn't have let them off of just that expedient means.
九郎様信仰を続けたいのであれば、その一部始終を語って聞かせいと、当時の住職が取りまとめたものが。
古文書が残っているんですね。
Sensei gave a very nice smile. Those ancient documents might also talk about the Nikata ritual. Well, I know at least one gentleman who has possession of such documents.
まあ簡単に説明するなら、鬼退治の大将軍が鬼の大将を倒したという神話の再現じゃな。
つまりは一種の里神楽ですね。
Even among village Kagura, There were ones not involving Miko dancing, but were plays for Izumo. I heard they're common in China. Of course, there was the climax where the shogun cleaved the head of the Oni king, who had turned into an ox with a sacred sword.
そこに生贄の儀式が絡んでおったあたりは、神楽というには何ともはや。
As if he found the smell of blood distasteful, the monk gave a lament as he stroked his beard.
生贄ですか。
煮えと言っても牛ですがな。
But still, since Buddhism forbids the taking of life, I'm surprised the monk gave tacit approval for that. He gave a heavy nod. Kurosama's festival, past the Nakata of Urashima, didn't have a performance where a paper mache ox head was cut. A real ox was placed on the altar, and it was not a performance, but a real head was cut down.
殺牛祭神。
Sensei mumbled a phrase that I wasn't familiar with.
日本領域にもありますな。唐紙のたたりにより牛を殺して祭り、また北条の禅をうんちゃらという話が。
なるほど。九郎様の祭儀を島に持ち込んだのが陰陽師なら、向こう風の儀式が混ざっていてもおかしくないですね。
Aoi Sensei slid her right pointer finger against her left palm, as if taking a memo, and tried to collect everything the monk said.
陰陽師
If this was an old faith that existed back in BC, then I didn't think an Omiyoji would be mixed in, but...
昔話からの九郎様信仰は仏教が広まるにつれて一度完全に途絶えているのよ。
If there was a reason like that, then the previous statement might not be so outlandish.
ちなみにその陰陽師、白髪白石石眼だったらしいわよ。
ビジュアル系ですね。
I highly doubt that. Mamoko's silly comment allowed everyone, who had been sucked in by the story of a sacrifice, to give a relieved sigh. White hair. White skin. One eye shut. Though I had only been given that little bit of info, the pieces fit together in my mind to make a distinct image.
椿のせい
The person I met in the South Forest last night. The Tokusaki no Tsubaki referred to as Kurosama's wife, and was also said to have been planted by Yasuhime-sama. If the virtuous Tsubaki that dispels evil took the form of an Omiyoji, and is trying to revive faith in Kurosama, then for me to have laid eyes on it without any preconceptions, I felt like it had been beyond any expectations.
補佐先輩
So it was a one-eyed, white-haired Omiyoji. Huh? I really don't have anything meaningful to add to any of this, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and just continue onward. Anyway, looks like we got some food.
そうめん薬味が少々
Ah, no meat. Again. Poor you.
うわー見事に炭水化物ばっかりだ
Momoko, who was confirming the items for lunch with her finger, let out a groan of anguish. There was also daikon, carrot, and cucumber sticks, but Momoko didn't seem to consider those.
グリコーゲンは大事だよ
それ運動前なんじゃ
The one who made the menu that depressed, Momoko gave an abashed smile to deflect that when I dug a little further. Glycogen, which is formed from carbohydrates, burns quicker than protein or fat, so it provides immediate energy. You often hear of sports players eating pasta before a match, and it seems Somen also has around 70% of the same nutrition. You learn something new every day.
炭水化物もいいけどタンパク質も大事ですよ。
ま、そうめんだからね。
Anyways, the main dish was somen. On each table was one large bowl for everyone to share, which contained a somen floating in ice water. If it were sensei, she'd say it's something like we're eating from the same pot, though it's like partaking of food when in Hades. It was a symbol of being in the other world, which I thought was rather scary, since once you were there, it wasn't easy to get out. And aside. The teacups holding the soy sauce were like the tough ones found in sushi restaurants and dyed a splendid color. The one that Aoi Shiro was holding had hard facets within it, and was rather exquisite item.
これは綺麗なものですね。
副部長さんの器は当たりですな。この貧乏寺にあってはかなり値の張るものですぞ。
そうなんですか？
うん、復元品ではないらしい。
The monk said that with a little bit of pride.
お、骨董品ですか？
If it wasn't just a curio, then it was a true antique. At first glance, the small-sized cup had an elegant round design that seemed to be ordinary cut glass. It wasn't transparent glass, nor glass of a single color, though. On the other hand, Momoko, who was crunching down on the vegetable sticks, had some brittle complaints.
カッパならキュウリ食べてパワーアップするとこかもしれませんがね。あいにく私、人間ですので。というわけで肉が必要です。キュウリ食べてもエネルギー湧かないです。あ、そうそう。キュウリには体温を下げる効果があるんですよ。
It does? Never knew that either.
へえ。
夏にはぴったりですね。
体温下がると人間死んでしまいますよ。カッパみたいに肌が青とか緑になっちゃいますよ。
Well, now I know what I need to do if I need to get a cheap Halloween costume set up, if you want to call it a costume. Just eat a shit ton of cucumbers until my skin turns blue and green. So how long's this gonna... Cut me off mid-sentence, why don't you? So, we definitely want to see Migiwa. So Migiwa, how you doing? Found any big catches at the rocks lately? I was thinking about talking with Migiwa. At practice, she didn't hide the fact and made it clear that she was not ordinary. If that were true, then her goals involved us. And then if her goals involved us, I couldn't let her dodge the question or interfere with us.
Huh?
I was thinking that I had to ask her about it. After the meal, before I could get a hold of Migiwa, she disappeared. She's a sly one, like a weasel. I had no choice but to search for her like I did last night. Unlike yesterday, I had a clue as to where she might be, but... if it were at the Forbidden Place, people wouldn't come there, and it'd be a good location to ask Migiwa some questions. I headed towards the Oni stepping stones.
いないか。
She's not? Huh. I didn't see Migiwa near the stepping stones. Not just Migiwa, but the stepping stones which led to Urashima were also hidden beneath the waves right now. There was also the time of day to consider, but it was like an entirely different place when comparing the morning and evening. There was only the sound of waves as the wind distributed the surface of the water. I wondered if the sea was rougher than last night. I wondered if it was because Kurosama's festival was drawing near. Aoi Sensei said that if outsiders entered the mountain or Tsubaki, sea would get rough. I wonder what would happen if someone who wasn't an outsider also entered that forbidden place. Last night, when I met Migiwa here, I didn't consider the person I met in the South Forest. When I looked for Migiwa last night, I went from the mountains to the ocean, though. It looks like I can't read today. It looks like I'm going to be going from the mountain to the ocean to the mountains today. I guess I really did have bad luck. Bad luck of the draw, or bad timing, or something. Since that was the case, it might have been better to have asked for Migiwa's cell phone number. Yeah, you really should have done that. The sun had reached its zenith and gradually started to head down. But I guess we could always ask. I guess we could always ask Aoi Shiro for her number. Sweating, I climbed up the long stairs and went past the temple gate towards the south forest behind Shoshinji. The flowers in the south forest were in full bloom, and it was an amazing sight. The green canopy above me thinned, the sunlight, and the vegetation filtered the salty air, changing into a refreshing wind. It'd be a nice place to rest in the afternoon with the sound of the leaves rubbing against each other, and the white flowers, but...
誰もいないか。
Since it was hard to see through the forest, there might be someone else here, but I didn't see anyone else right now. Neither Migiwa.
椿の精も
If the spirit was born from the Tokosaki no Tsubaki and used the moon for sustenance, it wouldn't appear in broad daylight, though. Where in the world did Migiwa go? Maybe I should go deeper into the forest, to where the Tokosaki no Tsubaki was. I'm not sure that's a good idea. It may be daylight, but I have a feeling that we might run into trouble if we do. A stronger wind than before made the trees in the south forest rustle. The incessant sound was like a moan, and greatly resembled the sound of the waves. The green curtain opened for a moment, and the smell of salt reached my nose. I guess she should be at the ocean. Checking the time on my cell phone, it was around 3 in the afternoon. It had been a while since I left the stepping stones. I wondered if the stepping stones were poking up from beneath the water's surface. I guess Migiwa and I must have missed each other somewhere. Since I had bad luck, I might miss her again, but I decided to go once more to the ocean. Well, look on the bright side. With all this walking around, you must be getting a decent amount of exercise. When I returned to the ocean that I'd left behind, it more closely resembled a bit of last night's ocean. This translation. Perhaps it was because the waves were starting to recede. Tens of kilometers away, the waves started to shove against each other, causing the water here to shrink and the land to increase. Within the ocean, part of the rocks had started to become land. The surface of the rocks wasn't dry yet. Reflecting the sunlight, the edges glinted, looking like dangerous blades. They would easily cut a person's skin, so in order not to slip and fall, I carefully made my way towards the stepping stones. Since I was moving slowly, the sound of my footsteps naturally became soft too. I heard the sound of the wind and the sound of the waves. Mixed in with that sound was the sound of Migiwa's voice. There she is. The tone of her voice was the same as what I'd heard yesterday at twilight. Was Migiwa with someone else there? Or she's on the phone? Or was she talking on the phone like yesterday? I came here to ask Migiwa who she was. I felt eavesdropping was a little vulgar, so I didn't want to hear the answer that way, but it'd be pretty efficient. But if I confronted Migiwa, she might not answer, so thinking about it that way, this was a chance to learn her true identity. Natsuni-san, being a straightforward to a fault type of person, would have announced herself without any qualms, though. As I was facilitating about what to do, my footsteps didn't stop, and I continued closer to where Migiwa was. It'd be up to fate to determine whether Migiwa would notice me first, or whether I would hear something important first.
昨日も報告しましたけど、女子高生の皆様方はなんとかならないものですかね。
The stepping stones were starting to peek out from the ocean. Migiwa was at the same place where she had been fishing yesterday. The fishing pole was carelessly sprawled on the rocks. In exchange, Migiwa held a red cell phone in her hand.
仲良くすりゃって。まあ、面白い子もいるし、私は別にいいんですけど、何かあった時の後始末はどうします？意外といいとこのお嬢さん校らしいですから、親の社会的地位もそれなりかもしれませんよ。
While she was talking over the phone, I stood at the side for an unnaturally long time. Too bad I couldn't hear the other party. If I were right next to her, I might be able to hear, but since I was this far, and with the sound of the waves, it wasn't possible.
ああ、無理無理。若も分かってますように、私そういうの苦手ですから。
Stuff like what?
それで他のところは動きなしですか？なんかうちだけで対処するのは無理っぽいですから、鬼切りの頭なりなんなりに話して、他の塔にも手を貸してもらったらどうですか？
You said other item, so that means there's more than one. As in, there's more than just the sword, right? What's the other item?
まあ、立場上難しいのは分かりますけどね。ずっと隠してた上に盗まれたりしちゃったわけだから、今さら言うに言えないわけですが、こっちはそこそこ動きありましたよ。私が見たわけじゃないんですが、夕べ出たようですよ。椿のせいとか言ってましたが、そんな可愛げのあるものじゃないでしょう。
Definitely must be talking about Kohaku.
肌も髪も真っ白で、ええ、目立つ眼帯こそしていないようでしたが、左目は始終つむりっぱなしだったそうです。
Okay, so eye patch, so you're definitely referring to him and then. Though the person on the other side couldn't see, Migiwa used her free hand to cover her left eyelid as she explained. There was no mistaking that they were talking about the person I'd met in the South Forest, which I told Migiwa about last night. It had the same characteristics as the one-eyed, white-haired Omiyuji, he said, to have brought Kurosama's ritual to Hiroshima.
赤眼鬼。
The Tsubaki's spirit was the one-eyed demon?
ええ、それが九段の赤眼鬼という可能性はあるんじゃないですか。なんて言いましたっけ？大昔に剣をうちに持ってきた人が要注意人物だって言ってたやつ。ああ、そいつです、そいつ。うちを襲って剣を奪った剣気の裏で糸を引く主犯はおそらくそいつでしょう。
Well, you're right about that.
とりあえず今のところ陸路で島に渡った人間はいません。
I see. There was the possibility of the stolen items being brought to Hiroshima, so Migiwa was watching the stepping stones.
気になるのは
And I hit the time limit.
誰？
Well, shit. We've been noticed. Again.
私よ。なんだ大阪。
If I'd stopped walking, I might have heard the rest, but I complied by my own rules. I wasn't as strict as Natsu-Nisan, though. Well, whatever. In the end, I would ask her myself, as I planned from the beginning.
右はあなた何やってるの？
見てわからんものは聞いてもわからん。
確か昨べもそう言ったわね。
やってることは変わってないから。
釣りじゃないわよね。
Well, she's half right. She is fishing, but not for fish.
釣りには見えないかしら。
Jeez. I've questioned her this much, but it looks like Migiwa wasn't going to give me a straight answer.
釣りにしてはさっきの電話の内容とか何やら不穏当っぽいんだけど。
どこから聞いてどこまで聞いてた？
Enough.
さあ。
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. It's actually kind of fun giving Migiwa a taste of her own medicine when it comes to vagueness. I took a page from Migiwa's book and answered vaguely. Migiwa gave a sigh as if it couldn't be helped. With a serious expression, she looked directly at me, as if judging if I were trustworthy or not. She then said,
実は私、アルファケンタウリからやってきた世界の邪悪と戦う魔法少女なの。
Okay, I believe you.
あなた電波な人だったの？
かもしれないし、違うかもしれない。実はさっきの電話だって、実は誰とも話していないという可能性も。
Migiwa really had no intention of answering at all. Well, I now knew Migiwa's goal, so coming here had been worth it. Though Migiwa might have had her suspicions, none of us should have been the one who'd stolen something from her. If Migiwa was the one who had something stolen and wasn't the one stealing something, then I didn't have any problems with her. There was the problem that the person who'd stolen something might come here, but fortunately this was a forbidden place. That does not matter, unfortunately. The only one besides myself who would just come here would be Momoko, so I'll warn her not to come near here.
昨べも潮が引いてたわね。
The tips of the rocks which formed a straight line from Munasaka to Hiroshima poked up from beneath the water.
鬼の踏み石。
オサはこのこと知っていた？知ってて昨べはここに来た？
いや。
Last night, I didn't know about this. Last night, the only thing I knew was that someone, probably Natsu-Nisan, helped me cross over the stepping stones.
あれ？
What was that? Just now. Flashback! What was that noise-filled red vision that popped into my head? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It looked like it was Natsu-Nisan in me, but... It looked like Natsu-Nisan was patting me on the head, but why did such a normal scene cause my heart to beat so fast?
オサ、8年前にここに来てるんだっけ？
If I had to guess, it'd probably be something along the lines of she was trying to calm your fears or something during a very stressful situation. Like, say, your lives being in danger, maybe?
覚えてないけど、知っていたのかも。
What exactly was that memory? My heart was beating too fast and made me feel ill, so I left the area of the Oni stepping stones. See you at dinner. As I was passing the main hall after returning to Shoshinji, I noticed the monk and Aoi Shiro standing there.
ただいま。
翔子さん、おかえりなさい。
And she lives! A small white face peeked out from behind Aoi Shiro's shadow. This was the first time seeing those large blue eyes, but I recognized her face.
あれその子。
ちょっと前に目を覚ましたんですよ。
無事だったんだ。あれ
What was this strange feeling of deja vu? She reached out her white hand and gently patted my face as if to confirm it was me.
ナミちゃん。
Perhaps Aoi Shiro thought the young girl she called Nami was bothering me, since I froze for a second, so she pulled Nami back. The round fingernails of her outstretched hand lightly grazed against my cheek.
何
The reason the words didn't reach me shouldn't have been because I wasn't paying attention to her. Because I had definitely heard a sigh, as if she were trying to appeal to me.
この子もしかして。
言葉自体まだ一言も。もしかしたら不自由なのかもしれません。
Aoi Shiro gave a slightly troubled smile as she tried to calm down the squirming Nami.
今のところ一言も。ですから名前もまだ。
あれでもさっき綾代は。
とりあえず仮にですけど、ないといろいろ不自由ですので。
その名前って。
I looked at the luxurious kimono that Nami was wearing.
この波模様が名前の由来ね。
それとこの長い髪が決め手ですね。
Patting her head as if saying, I got it, elicited a happy smile from the young girl, who was called Nami for now. I wonder if Aoi Shiro's grip had slackened a bit, because the young girl hugged me tightly. Hug her back. She clearly wants affection. Was she somehow attached to me? Well, she certainly is now.
翔子さん、羨ましいです。
You can always hug her too, you know, I'm sure. Despite whatever protest Shiyoko might have. It's true that it somehow caused the heart to soften. No, now wasn't the time for this. Or I wonder if I'm just misreading the situation a bit. I thought about asking the monk.
ところで和尚。
何ですかな？
Well, we already know what the deal is with Nami's clothes, so I think it'd be better for me to ask about Migiwa.
右はキアンさんってどういう人なんですか？
あのお嬢さんが何かしたかね？
Well, she admitted to me that she was a magical girl, so there's that.
昨日の夜中もついさっきもずっと岩場に。鬼の踏み石って言うんでしたっけ？あそこで釣り糸垂れてるんですよ。
At what was a forbidden place. I also went there, so I thought he might be angry at me, but the monk didn't seem to mind.
おお、そんなところにいなさったかね。
夜中に抜け出したりしてるのに知らなかったんですか？
好きにしてもらっておるからの。田舎の中の僻地なだけに夜中に出歩いたところで悪い遊びなどしようがない。何ら問題ないのではと。
You're a very lenient guy.
釣りは潮の流れが寛容ですから、好きな人には夜釣りも常識じゃて。
The monk cocked his head to the side.
しかし確かに妙ですな。踏み石のあたりは魚が取れぬと先だって伝えたはずなんじゃが。
It wouldn't have been strange if she didn't know that she was at the stepping stones when she was night fishing, but
右輪は
yes, Migiwa didn't go there to fish.
右輪は鬼の踏み石を見張っているように見えました。
Migiwa was watching over that place to retrieve her stolen items from the culprit.
右輪って何者なんですか？
キアンさんが何者かとは？
私の場合、ここは剣道部の合宿先で、ここが合宿先に選ばれたのは和尚と角兵衛先生が知り合いだったからじゃないですか。
There was nothing suspicious about us being here.
どういうつてで昇進寺に泊まっているのかとか、何をしにここに来たのかとか、座禅とかに来た人ではないですよね。
And of course she wasn't here for a hot spring treatment either.
キアンさんについて分かっておることは、部長さんと同じ高校2年生。一身上の都合で1週間ほど泊めてやってほしいとのことじゃった。民宿などがあるところまでは結構距離がありますからの。
If you need to watch the stepping stones twice a day during low tide, then this really was a good place to stay.
看守様からの紹介とあっては、わしとしてもそうそう断るわけにはいかん。
The Kanushi was the person with the highest position in the denomination of Buddhism that Shoshinji belonged to. So the one Migiwa called a boss, or perhaps even higher up, was a person who was capable of asking for such a favor.
家の都合って何ですか？
さて、看守様の知り合いということ以外は、わしは一切知らんからの。
やっぱり宗教関係者。
Oh yeah.
浦島に続く鬼の踏み石は禁足地じゃ。九郎様の祭りのこの時期にそこを見張るのには意味があるとは思うのじゃが。
That exalted person led Kian Migiwa, a student in the same year as us, through. Why was she dispatched? No matter what special training she had, there should have been countless more qualified people than her. I think it's probably tied to that eye of hers.
さて、看守様に聞いてみるのは構わんが、果たして答えてくれるかの？
見込み薄なんですか？
禁足地の見張りが目的で話せるような事情なら、まずはわしに何とかさせるのが筋じゃないかね。
はあ。
What was Migiwa's real identity?
ただいまです。
Hello, Momoko. You got your test of courage all set up now? There was a sound of the door sliding to the side, followed by Momoko's voice. It seems that the party that was sent out to buy ingredients to fill the stomachs of the team members, plus one, had returned.
いやー、いろいろと大変でしたよ。途中でざわっちが。なんでもないです。
Oh, so you went with them. Yasumi turned red and interrupted Momoko.
休みがどうかしたの？
いえ、特に面白いこととか変なことはしてないです。ね、ももちゃん。そうだね。今のざわっちより面白いっていうか変なことはしてなかった。
You're bad at lying. It was clear that something had happened, but since they wanted to hide that fact, I wouldn't be able to obtain the truth. Besides, right now, my head was filled with a whole lot of other concerns. Like food? So it was something like that.
肝試しとかって合宿にはつきものじゃないですか？
In the morning, Momoko had wanted to have a test of courage to confirm the ghost's existence and remove doubts that it was her. Since Momoko was planning it and she went shopping today, the test of courage wasn't complete, so it was delayed until tomorrow. Okay, so that explains why we're not doing it. If that was the case, then it's fine if we didn't have one. So, since we already taken a bath and didn't want to get sweaty, we didn't have anything much to do, so decided to play cards again. With an innocent look on her face, Migiwa also joined in. Jeez. I wonder what was her real identity. She already told you! She's a magical girl! Hello, Nami. Yasumi and Nami yawned at the same time, which also caused me to yawn a second later. I wonder if they had some special traits, because yawns generally seem to be pretty contagious. Since we were enjoying ourselves, we lost track of time. Fortunately, after checking the time, it wasn't that late yet. If memory serves, I think yawns being contagious is more so a empathy sign that people might unconsciously share with one another if more than one person in the same room might be tired. It's a simple way of explaining it, and I don't remember how exactly it works, but it's apparently something that's more so just, like I said, just an empathy response in some people. If one person yawns, then if they are also tired or not getting enough oxygen to their brain, they might also unconsciously decide to follow suit with a yawn of their own.
So それほど遅い時間じゃないけど、ナミはそろそろ寝る時間よね。
She gave a vague response and rubbed her sleepy eyes with the back of her hand and fingers. It wasn't past 9 yet, but she already started to nod off. We should put her to bed.
やっぱり私も上がることにするわ。もう結構な時間だし。
そうね。私もそろそろ上がらせてもらうし。
I didn't know if Migiwa was here because she still suspected one of us, or just wanted to kill time, but I wondered if it was about time for the tides to recede, or maybe she just wanted to rest a bit. I think it's the former.
それじゃあ私も。
私も。
Like removing the teeth from a comb, one by one, the participants decreased until there was no one left. Listening to the sound of everyone breathing while they slept, I still hadn't fallen asleep. I just realized it's been a little while since I checked the flowchart.
進行上、カーソルを合わせると章台が表示されるわよ。
Okay, so there's 2 different paths I could have taken there. And another lock right here. Interesting. So I guess I'll have to do something else here in order to unlock it. Otherwise, I'm happy to see that it looks like so far I may not have to do too much in terms of backtracking in order to get the other endings on Migiwa's route. Assuming that's definitely what I'm on, but I really don't have any reason to think I'm not, so... Listening to the sound of everyone breathing while they slept, I still hadn't fallen asleep. Or maybe it was I couldn't sleep.
今夜も右輪は出て行った。
Migiwa got up in the middle while we were playing cards. I wondered if she didn't plan on coming back until it was time for our morning practice. I decided to go check up on her. Bringing Kumoichi, which Momoko had borrowed for the purpose of the test of courage, I head to the Oni stepping stones. The sound of water?
誰？
There was no reply. Probably those little puppets again, if I had to guess. Though there was no reply, I knew that something was there. Yep, I called it. Its shape greatly resembled a person. It had a small body and a large head. The silhouette was like a child's. So since these things are running around right now, then That means that Kaya must be nearby and is getting ready to make her move to the island. But it has sturdy shoulders, and its long arms ended in large hands, as if it were wearing a glove. It also had webbed fingers. The arms were out of proportion with its body. Its languid, forward posture was like a monkey's. But that wasn't a monkey. It had something like a mane running down from its head, over its back, and continuing behind it. Beside that, it was hairless. Soaked in seawater and glistening in the moonlight, it was like an amphibian. The eyelids were lidless, like that of a snake or a quiet creature.
化け物
This would be too elaborate a prank for a human to pull off. There might be kids around here who are excellent at swimming, but first of all, this place was.
そもそも鬼の踏み石のあたりは九郎様の禁足地。魚も恐れて近寄らんのだよ。
I didn't think it was possible for this many kids to be playing a prank together at this time. Oni.
随分とまた未熟者のようだが、お主が捨てんの鬼切りか。剣を追いかけ来たのだな。
Perfect. Use this flashback right here to realize what Migiwa's identity is, because it's definitely I think it's almost certainly gotta be this. She is the Suten no Onikiri.
なんかうちだけで対処するのは無理っぽいですから、鬼切りの頭なりなんなりに話して。
Suten Onikiri. Suten no Onikiri. With those unnatural beings in front of me, those phrases accelerated through my head. I exhausted my prefunctory knowledge of such things. My head started spinning.
うちを襲って剣を奪った剣気の裏で糸を引く主犯はおそらくそいつでしょう。
Migiwa had a sword stolen from her, which she was trying to chase down. The Onikiri no Kashira seemed to be someone in a higher position than the one Migiwa called boss. So it seems Migiwa was the Suten no Onikiri. There you go, now you're piecing it together. I recalled Migiwa's distinctive movements that I saw during morning practice. Did Onikiri mean Demon Slayer? Okay, so we got 3 different choices here, huh? How's about... I'm honestly not sure which one of these would lead me to an almost immediate bad end, so... take a guess and say maybe running to the stones would lead me to that, because I don't think they're fully exposed yet, and trying to run to Urashima seems like a definite bad idea, so let's do that. From here, it was closer to go to the Oni stepping stones than Shoshinji. And over there, at the stepping stones, Migiwa should be there alone. If it's the 2 of us... I was almost there when my foot slipped and I fell into the ocean. You gotta watch your footing, Shoko! The abrupt shock struck my back, causing the pressure in my lungs to want to escape as air was forced out of my trachea. The hardness of the water held up for only the moment of impact. The moment I exhaled, my body was swallowed by the water, and I was dragged under. Like the monk said, the ocean currents in this area were fast. Just by being in the water, you wouldn't feel that you've been caught. But still, you could feel yourself dragged deeper. This feeling was nostalgic. A sharp rock grazed my leg. The hot blood within me flowed out and dissolved in the cold water. The ceiling was also. The moment my face broke through the water's surface.
即滅
Did you save me, Migiwa? Thank you very much. I will definitely repay you with some fish later. The vermilion pole that Migiwa had wielded pierced the monster through the mouth, and now the back of its head. It made an unpleasant noise that resembled a scream, as its body rapidly crumbled.
引っかかったのは雑魚ばかりか。役のつかない鬼切りでもね、あんたら下っ端の式神ほど雑魚じゃないのよ。はっふっステン王神流が舞の手。
So, I think I made a wrong decision. I was expecting to die. I'm not dead yet. Migiwa's here. Oh, friggin' well. No sense in going back, I might as well just continue. My breathing was ragged as I dragged myself out of the water. My rough breathing wasn't due to my lungs seeking out oxygen, since I couldn't breathe underwater. It was probably due to fear. I had been frightened by the monsters in the dark water, the only stepping stones, which the monk had said were dangerous.
何なのよ今のは。
見てわからんものは聞いても。
あんなの聞かなきゃわかるわけないでしょ。
何に見えた？
化け物ね。赤くて耳の尖った猿っぽい。
I remembered what Migiwa had talked about tonight. It wasn't bald and had loose, disheveled hair, but it resembled one. It said that talking about spirits will attract them, so maybe the kappa also came because we talked about them.
見られたからには仕方がない。
Migiwa pointed the vermilion pole she was wielding at me.
とか言う前に、映画ロケとか夢だとかそういうことにしてしまう気ない？
Well, got anything to offer me to help me convince myself of that?
証拠は何も残ってないから、私がしらばっくれさえすれば、今夜はいつも通りの夜。私のいつもはこっちかもしれないけど、長にとってのいつもじゃないでしょ。忘れられないかもしれないけど、忘れたふりさえできるなら長のいつもに戻れるわ。それで
自分のこの目で見たものを私は否定したくない。
With mine own eyes.
それじゃあまあ。
She aimed for my throat and gently rolled her pole around. You threatening me? I have a wooden stick I can use. I'll give you some nasty splinters. A chill ran down my back because my shirt was soaked with seawater and clinging to me. But that wasn't the only reason.
あなた何者？
私は右輪、キアン右輪。鬼切り部ステン島が鬼切り。ま、いわゆる下っ端なんだけど。
鬼切り部、鬼切り？
I'd only heard about this name.
鬼切り部ってのは、その名の通り、鬼切りを役目とする職能集団のことね。日本全国津々浦々に、ステン島とかなんとか島とか、縄張りやら血統やらで分かれた島がいくつもあるわけ。そのほとんどが世襲制ね。血が絶えないように、あるいは役目に必要な能力の有無で養子を取ったりいろいろあるけど。
Fascinating.
で、私が下っ端として働いてるのが琉球に根付いたステン島ってわけ。うちは本土とくっつくまで鬼切り部ではなかったから、あんまり鬼切り部らしくないけどね。鬼切りってのはその名の通り、鬼を切ること、それを役目とする人のこと。
鬼って浦島の昔話に出てくるあの？
あれを退治したのも鬼切り部の鬼切り役ね。私は役付きじゃないただの鬼切りだから、鬼切りの将軍じゃなくて3人いたお供に当たる役割あたりがせいぜいね。
さっきの小さいの。
ま、あれも鬼といえば鬼だけどさ。あれはいわゆる式神ね。私の追ってる鬼じゃないわ。
Migiwa was saying that they were Moryu from the phrase Chimi Moryu.
鬼にも何種類かあるわけよ。生まれながらの毛飼いの民、人から転じた生なりの鬼、剣を狙う赤眼鬼は式神をよく使う陰陽師。さっきのあれを見た長なら何を馬鹿げたとか意識。
I didn't have any basis to compare to, but what it looked like living creatures had vanished into black mist, leaving no traces. I didn't know whether those were truly Shikigami or not, but I understood that they were not of this world.
だから剣を奪った剣気は赤眼鬼が式だのなんだのをつかせて作った傀儡の鬼なんじゃないかと私は予想していたわけよ。
So Migiwa was saying there were also various patterns that Oni used to possess someone. There seemed to be cases where no one, not even the possessed person himself, knew, and his soul was slowly consumed.
つまり式をつかせる体は鬼の本体などではなく、場合によっては乗り換えが効く。今の体がダメならば別の体につけばいい。今の体が殺されたなら殺した相手につかせればいい。
It seems such Oni also existed.
やつも相当な手傷を負っていたからすでに体を変えているのでは。だから私は負傷を押してこの地を見張り、剣を持ったやつが来る日を待った。
And then we came.
あんたたちの誰かの中にその鬼が宿っているのではとか思ったわけ。そして一番の容疑者はそれはあんたよ、幼い証拠。
Moi? Why would you think that? Is it the flashbacks? Is it the constant flashbacks I keep having? The one that seems to always catch your eye? No pun intended. I can't really help those, and they're not really harming anybody.
部長として合宿先の選定に関われる立場であり、鬼と同じ立ち筋を持っていた。
My swordsmanship resembles that Oni.
だけどまあ、長じゃないのはもう分かったけどね。
I didn't know when I had been removed from the list of suspects, but I was glad. In this unpleasant state of affairs, I was more vexed at being made fun of than being suspected of being the Kenkei.
とりあえず長、ちょっとそっちに座って足見せて。
足？
手当てするから傷見せて。
I still have my stick, so if you try anything funny, I'll splinter you.
そんなの後でいいわよ。
If it were an honorable injury from the Moryu, then I wouldn't hesitate, but it was from falling into the ocean. Never mind other people. To show this to Migiwa was... I was also being stubborn, but I had a mental block against telling her.
長、この辺のフジツボが卵を吐き出してるのを知らないのね。海で膝を切っちゃった人がいてね。傷自体はそんなに深くなかったから、その人は何も気にせず、医者にも見せずに治しちゃったのよ。
Do I want to know what barnacle eggs can do to a person who had gotten cuts in the ocean?
それからしばらくした後に、やっぱり膝の調子が悪い。なんだかギクシャクイガイガする。
Okay, stiffness.
不審に思った医者が膝を切って開いてみると、そこには小さなフジツボがみっしりと。
Oh God!
気持ち悪いわね。縁起でもない。
ツッコミがクールだ。
Well, it was a standard story for a time like this.
普通はもっと気持ち悪がったり怖がったりするもんじゃないの？そんなバカな、ありえないと思いつつ、もしかしたらなんて考えて。その神経、やっぱり長が鬼でしょ。
だってそれ作り話でしょ。
Please tell me it is. In other words, it was a baseless urban legend or something like that. The salt content and density of salt water in the body were completely different. The oxygen needed by a living being might be obtained from red blood cells, but there were also antibodies like white blood cells.
いや、何か実例あるらしいわよ。
匿名の友達の友達あたり？
まあそこまで言われると。
What the hell am I supposed to believe here? Could somebody give me a definite answer? I would really like to know whether or not I should be scared of barnacles in case I get any cuts in the ocean. In the end, while talking about such things, I had Migiwa look at my injury.
ほら、そっちの足もっと上げて。うわ、こんなに濡らしてびちょびちょじゃない。
落っこちたんだから当たり前。
足乗っけていいから。はい。傷はそれほど深くないみたいね。少なくとも骨とか筋には影響ないと思うわ。
だから大丈夫だって。
だけどさ、いい足持ってるじゃないの。
Now thank you.
は？
形もいいし、肌のコンディションもなかなか。
あなた一体何やって？
一応ひねったりして筋痛めてないか見てるんだけど。私なんか変なことしてる？
いや、してない。
It was the same as when my grandfather examined a patient.
お、気持ちいい？ここんとここうすると気持ちいいでしょ？
I thought we were just checking my wounds.
傷以外は大丈夫だから、もういいわよ。びしょ濡れなのもなんとかしたいし、傷もちゃんと洗いたいから、さっさとお寺に戻りましょう。
一仕事した後の温泉は格別だね。いやー、ほんとしみると思わない？
傷にもね。
Trying to keep quiet so we wouldn't wake anyone, Migiwa and I headed directly to the onsen after returning from the ocean. Normally the busy monk lived here by himself. While I didn't have an automatic bell ringer, the onsen were automatic in 24-hour. You know what? I think I'll go ahead and end things here, since we seem to have no longer be in any kind of danger and nothing particularly serious is going on. So I guess we'll continue to spend more time with Migiwa, learning more about, well, learning more about her and her relation to this organization that she's part of in the next episode. Now that I know as much as I do now, I'm definitely intrigued to learn more. So I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Aoi Shiro. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.